Looks like we've got some folks waiting and raring to go.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, you may
Okay.
just add soft, but maybe that's just me.
All right, maybe, is that a little better?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Great, okay. Okay, we ready to?
Yeah, we may wait a few minutes to see if we've got everybody we were expecting.
Sounds good.
How's it looking, Amelia? Do you think we've got most of our folks who signed up for this evening?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started.
All right, I think Stephen's going to do most of the talking tonight. I'm just kind of here making sure everything's working, and we'll turn things over to Stephen.
Great. All right. Well, thank you. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. I'm Stephen Levine. I'm the director of our degree programs at the School of Continuing and Professional Studies. And again, I thank you for coming tonight. And more important than anything we'll discuss tonight, I hope that all of you are healthy and that those in your orbit are healthy as well and doing well. Strange times, I think we'd all agree right now. So thank you so much for joining. What I'd like to do is just go through a little explanation and overview of our Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies program and give you some details about that. And I'll try to be brief and not give you too much detail, but I will leave plenty of time at the end for questions. So if you do have questions, I encourage you to ask them after I get through with my short presentation, and I'll try not to make it too long. So again, thank you so much for joining. And Amelia, will you be advancing the slides or? Thanks so much. So as I mentioned, the Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies program is it's designed for working adults. So it has a lot of flexibility built into the curriculum. And there's a lot of, how can I say this? We have all different kinds of students who enter the program. We have students who go through the program at many different paces, I would say. Some take many courses a semester, some take one course a semester. There's all different concentrations, and there's all different places people go when they're done with the program. Professionally, they go to graduate school, and I'm going to give an overview of all of that with you tonight. So obviously, the BIS program's at the University of Virginia, and the University of Virginia is very old. The BIS program is not nearly as old. It was founded in the late 1990s, 20 years ago. We're in our 20th anniversary or 21st year, you could say now. And the University of Virginia is really as many of you know, it's a residential traditional university. The students, generally the undergraduate students, come there to 22 years old.
Looks like you've frozen up a bit, Stephen. Well, we'll see if we give him a second to thaw out. Can you hear us, Stephen? You're frozen up. Well, are you back, Stephen? I think we lost you for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, but you were frozen there for a good minute or so.
Yeah, my computer let me know that as well. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I don't know what you last heard, but I was just giving a little bit of overview of the BIS program. And by design, again, it's for providing access to the University of Virginia for primarily working adults. And again, we're in now, I guess I should say, our 21st year. And that's kind of the big picture of what its purpose is, what its mission is. And we've been doing that for a very long time. So let's go ahead and get into some of the details about the school and about its place. So BIS is housed in the School of Continuing and Professional Studies. It's one of 12 schools at the University of Virginia. And unlike the rest of the University of Virginia, the School of Continuing and Professional Studies is there specifically to reach students that the rest of the university doesn't. So non-traditional learners, right? People who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yes, we've had students in the program in their late 70s even. Regardless of where they live and regardless of their status in terms of if they're working full-time, if they're working part-time, the School of Continuing and Professional Studies is really aimed at meeting the needs of that particular population. So we can move ahead to the next slide, if you would. Thank you. So again, I hope you can still hear me. I'm hearing a little background noise, but okay. Thank you. I'm glad we're keeping our connection. So BIS, as I said, BIS is created for adult learners, and in terms of who BIS is meant to serve, it's really as broad as possible. It's a broad liberal arts program, and I'll get into the details later with some more specific focus concentrations. But if you look at the students who have come through the program, it's an extremely wide range of people. Some of them are in their 20s and want to finish the degree they started and get to the next career path, or maybe change jobs, or maybe get their first sort of career-oriented jobs. We have other students who are in the middle of their career and want to just finish the degree so they can advance. We have others who come into the program who just want to do it as a matter of enrichment. It's something they never completed, and they're ready just to complete this thing that they started many years ago. Again, it's a degree completion program, so all the students coming in have had some college background, but varying amounts, and we'll talk about that later. And again, as I'm illustrating now, they come in for different reasons. Some students want to go to graduate school. Like I said, some want to do it for enrichment, some want career advancement. And as we'll see when we get to the details of the concentrations, we have a lot of different sort of academic and professional specialties as well. So it really serves a wide range of students. We're getting close to 900 graduates in the BIS program. We'll be there in the next couple of years for sure. And that's just a little bit of an overview. We'll get into some of them with more details as we move along. So thanks, Amelia. So in terms of the program, we are a little different from a lot of other programs, and throughout the presentation, hopefully I'll highlight some of those differences. One way we're different is that even though we do online programming, you can complete this degree completely online, we have mostly synchronous classes, which means you meet with the instructor at a certain time and with your classmates. These are very small classes, lots of discussion, very student-centered. We do offer some asynchronous courses each term, and the reason for that is to give some flexibility, but primarily our online courses are synchronous, which is something that's different from a lot of other programs that you might encounter. I'm also always experimenting with different classes. As a director, I get to schedule our classes. So we've been trying, for example, lunchtime classes where they'll meet maybe twice a week, 12 to 1:15 twice a week. And students are really taking advantage of that time slot, and we're getting high enrollments in those classes. So we continue to run them. I ran a J-term class, as we call it, in January for 2 weeks. That was over in France, over in Paris. It was a Victor Hugo course, and it filled. Our students were excited to go overseas and take a class. It was an electives. So plenty of students chose to do that. So we're always flexible in terms of what we offer, but primarily it's synchronous online courses in the evening, because that seems to be what most of our students really want. And most students take a couple of classes each semester. 2 is about the average, but some take 1 a semester, some take 3, 4. I mean, it varies widely. We're very flexible in that way. So Amelia, if we can move along, thanks. So aside from the mostly synchronous format, there's a lot of things about the program that at least I would argue, are distinctive. We have incredible pre-admission advising. People who are interested in the program get to talk to a person who is extremely knowledgeable and is on this presentation right now, Catherine Bizzoni. She's outstanding. She provides great service and can answer any of your questions, evaluate your transcripts, anything really you want to know, she can help you with. We have orientation for students coming in the program. We hold it in person, but we also offer it online. All students coming in the program can have a peer mentor if they would like. That's a student who's already in the program who can help guide them through the program, answer some of their questions. We have a great team of advisors who don't have 50 or even 80 students to advise. They have small numbers so they can really give the personal attention to each student. When students get to the capstone, we'll look at the curriculum a little more closely later. They get a one-on-one experience working with a mentor through that process. We have a writing center headed by one of our faculty members. And so students have writing support whenever they need it. There are regular sessions held, but there's also access via just email sending out to the Writing Center, which is run by Charlotte Matthews, who is there to help any student at any time with anything in any class. So we really pride ourselves on that. We have a director of student success who works with students who may be having certain challenges. Sometimes they're beyond academic challenges, and she's really good at working with those. But really, we're all part of a team here to support the students in any way we can. So we all work together. We all know our students, and we all support them. As I said earlier, small classes. They're capped at 25. Our average class size right now is about 11, 12, 13. It varies semester to semester. So these are small classes. They're interactive. If you want to hide in the back of a class and duck, this isn't the best format for you. We want people engaged. Our faculty learn from our students. Our students learn from our faculty. We're really a community that way of adult learners. And so we have small, interactive, like I said, collaborative, synchronous classes primarily. And our faculty, I can gush here. I'll try not to because I'm just, I think our faculty are just outstanding. They are really, they're a self-selected group of faculty who love to work with adult learners, and they're really, really good at it. And they keep working at getting better at it. And I cannot exaggerate how much, how considerate they are for the needs of students and how hard they work at making the best possible classes they can. And again, I know there's at least one watching right now, and I won't embarrass her, who teaches in the program, who's joining us tonight. So some of the other things we offer too are our libraries. UVA has this incredible library system, and there's all kinds of perks that, first of all, they're just great in the library. They're there anytime to help students. There's a chat box. Students on Sunday can type into it and say, hey, I'm looking for this, or I'm in this database, I'm researching, mummies in ancient Egypt, and I can't find anything. They're usually on that right away, helping students all the time. Regardless of where students live, they're able to have library materials shipped to them for free and shipped back to the library for free. So the residential full-time students who go to UVA, the 18 to 22-year-olds, do not get that service. So this is above and beyond what the rest of the UVA students even get. So that's just a list. I can probably go on for the next 3 hours, but no one wants that here. I understand that. But that's at least an overview of some of the things that are unique and distinctive about the program. So some of the other things that I like to talk about is our retention rate and our graduation rates. They're extremely high in our BIS program. Part of that is because of the supports that I just showed you. At least a lot of that is because of the supports that we show you. When we admit students to the program, we really take, I don't want to say ownership, we don't own people, but we really care deeply about them succeeding. We're not looking for students to come in the program. We're looking for students to come in the program who we think can succeed. And that's what we're in, that's what we do here. We're helping people get to that goal of getting their degree. So that's why we built out all those supports we have. We want students to succeed, and we want them to have the best possible experience. So that's why if you look at right here, for example, our retention rate, and you look at our graduation rate, they're sky high. They really are. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not even happy with them because I want them to be higher. And we're tirelessly working to make those better. This is what we do all the time. We're always talking about how can we advise better? How can we have better classes? How can we better inform our incoming students? Whatever we can do, how can we better help with the writing? We're always working on that. But we are proud of them, but we also know that we always want to do better. So Amelia, if you can advance it, thanks so much. So before we get into some of the details of the program, I just want to say in very general terms that when I think of the program and I think what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to help students who come through the BIS program become really like better at thinking, better at writing, better at speaking, better at working at teams, better at problem solving. Those are foundational skills that we find help students no matter what they end up doing after the program. Whether they go to graduate school, a career change, whatever whatever the direction is, those are kind of the core skills that we work on throughout the program, because we think they're more and more important day by day, because as the economy changes, technology advances, we don't even know what the jobs of the future will be. But if people can think critically, if they can adapt, if they can collaborate in teams, if they can problem solve, if they can do those things, they're going to be adaptable. They will have learned how to learn. At the bottom line is they've learned how to learn, and that is just invaluable. And that is a skill that is an ability you bring with you and allows you to adapt to changing environment no matter where it goes. So that's really the foundation of the skills that we work on throughout the program. Amelia, if we can move it ahead. Thanks. So a quick overview. I know I'm giving a lot of information here. The metaphor I use is sometimes we can try to, give people water to drink through a fire hose and they can't take it in because there's too much water coming out. I'll try not to do that here, but a quick overview of the curriculum. We have foundational seminars. There's 4 of those that are 3 credits each that students take early on in the program. And then there are 11 different concentrations. Students pick one of those. And most of those are 18 credits, but one of them's 24. And then there's a balance of electives that students take in the program. And this is really where, in my opinion, it gets exciting because we offer a wide range of courses. We'll look at some of those later. But there's those degree electives. And then at the very end of the program, there's the capstone project, which is a 2-course sequence, 3 credits and 3 credits, where students get to work on an independent research project in a topic that might be professionally relevant, maybe academically relevant if they want to go to graduate school, or something of personal interest. Sometimes people come into the program with a strong interest in something and they want to delve really deeply into that topic. Sometimes it's a combination of those things. So the capstone project allows students to do any and all of those. We've had a wide range of capstone projects, as you might imagine. And as I mentioned earlier, students get to work individually with a mentor who is a specialist in that field or in the fields that they're looking at. So depending on how many credits a student brings into the program, say they come in with 45 credits or 50 credits or 60 credits, that'll determine how many they take total. How many they need to take with us. There's a total of 120 credits that students need to complete for the degree. And students will come in with, 45 to 60 credits. Or, so they'll take 20 courses if they come in with 60 credits, and they'll take more courses if they come in with fewer. So hopefully that's not too much detail, but gives you a little bit of an overview there. Thanks, Amelia. So as I said, this is a broad-based liberal arts degree focusing on those what are called soft skills or human skills. Like I said, writing and critical thinking, communication, group work, problem solving. And what the program also does is it requires students to select a concentration And as you'll see, we've rolled out a lot of these concentrations. 3 or 4 years ago, we only had 3 of them. And I've worked hard on creating other ones that I think are of professional and academic interest to many students. Again, we get a wide range of students coming in the program, so we try to offer a lot of options with the concentrations. And as you can see, if you look down the list on the left of the concentration options, you'll see a range of ones like art and society, history and politics, liberal arts, psychology, that are good for, they're very broad, and people go all different directions. They go into law, they go into counseling, they go into all different professional areas there, as well as teaching, all kinds of things. And then there's a range of disciplines, or I should say a list of concentrations that are a little bit more professionally focused. So if you look, there's business, of course, which is relatively broad, but then there's cybersecurity analysis, healthcare management, IT, and you can see those are a little bit more focused professionally. And we have a range of, students taking all of these concentrations right now. There's just a mix of students in the program, but all of those students, regardless of which concentration they take the balance of their courses in those electives that I mentioned earlier, and they all also take those foundational seminars that I mentioned earlier, and then they go and do their concentrations independently. So that's the range of those concentrations. I will try not to talk for 3 hours on this because I get excited when we talk about our courses. I'll admit it. So I helped make this list of sample BIS courses, and I struggled with it because we offer such a wide range of courses that it's really hard to limit what I put on this list to give a sort of sampling. But hopefully I succeeded at that. These courses are not the ones listed here. Are not necessarily offered every semester or even every year. We're constantly rotating electives in that are of interest to our students, and that our faculty can do a really top-notch teaching as well, because there's obviously a relationship there. We want really great courses that are of interest to our students. So as you can see by this list, there's a wide range of these classes. And I'm not kidding, we have more than 200 other classes in the catalog. I'm not exaggerating, and we're inventing new ones. Like I said, we just did a study abroad course in France. We have a new medical humanities class we just ran this semester. We're running an entrepreneurship course this summer for the first time, at least first time in at least 10 years. And just looking at this list, if you look up from the sixth course from the bottom, an examination of the criminal justice system, just as an example, that course is running this semester. And as you would imagine, given the situation that we're in with COVID-19, there's a lot of discussion that many of you have probably heard about in the news about people who are incarcerated and possible infection there, and those circumstances surrounding that. So I just heard this past week in that class, they're talking about prisons and what's happening with COVID-19 and state federal policy, public health issues, concerns about everything from recidivism to crime and all these other things. So it's incredible how in these classes, so much of what's happening today and so much of the experience of students, we even have some students who are in law enforcement, for example, how all that comes together in some of these classes in a really, really exciting way. Like I said earlier, our faculty, there's a wide range of faculty here. We have art historians, we have lawyers, we have people who specialize in mindfulness who work at the medical school. We have a wide range. It's again, I can go on and on. I won't here, but we have a wide range of faculty teaching a wide range of courses. And again, we're always looking to see what would most appeal to our students and what would be most of interest to them when I'm selecting what courses to run and what semesters. So it's an ongoing process. So a little bit about admissions requirements. Students need to have a high school diploma or equivalent. As I mentioned earlier, to get the degree. Within those credits that come in, there's a liberal studies core of courses that need to come in, and then the balance, there's a little more flexibility of those credits that students bring in. Cumulative GPA of 2.0 from the most recently attended college. And if for those students who've been at UVA, a 2.0 and good academic standing at UVA. And we don't get many of those students, but we do have a few that come in from UVA as well. We have students that come from all over the place, which is wonderful. It's part of the beauty of the program. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of the transferable credits that come in. As I mentioned earlier, just the last slide, the liberal arts core, there's 6 humanities, 6 social science, 8 math science, and then 10 liberal arts and 6 English composition credits. So those, and then you have 24 to balance that out. Again, depending on how many of those electives up to 24 you bring in determines how many credits you would need to complete. So again, there's a minimum of 45 students who bring in and a maximum of 60, and then they would complete that balance and go to 120 total. So. A little bit about the application. We want to see all the college transcripts. That's a requirement anyway at UVA, but it also helps us in the pre-admissions process because we want to see all your credits. Sometimes students come to us and say, oh, well, I think I only have 25 credits that would really be transferable, this or that. And then we say, well, are those all of your transcripts? And they say, well, we have these other from this other school. Anyway, long story short is show us all your transcripts because Catherine Bizzoni, again, who's joining us tonight, can hopefully work her magic and find all those things that are transferable from all of your institutions you've attended. Again, we need to see those anyway if you end up applying. There's 2 short essays, a letter of recommendation, and then you can see the other details there. And the highlight of that is we have the application fee waived for the fall 2020 deadline, which is May 15th. We have 2 deadlines each year. We have one rapidly approaching in less than a month for fall of 2020. And again, that fee is waived, which is really great. It's a $70 fee, if I remember correctly. So anyway, that's May 15th, the next deadline. For students who would want to start next spring, so say spring of 2021, that'd be a November 1 deadline. Here's the tuition. We don't determine this tuition, or at least we don't finalize the tuition, and we keep the website updated. The tuition for fall of 20 and 21 is not finalized yet, and it will be, but we keep that posted so that it's always updated. The current rate is $442 per credit. And one thing I'm really excited about, as you can see, I'm excited about a lot of things, but another thing I'm really excited about is the geographically neutral pricing. A few years ago, we were able to get that through. So regardless of where you live in the United States or really on the planet, you pay the same amount. And that was not the case in the past. So we're really excited about that because, again, remember at the very beginning, what I said is this is about accessibility. So we want to be flexible in terms of the curriculum. We want to meet the needs of people who are working full-time, part-time, regardless of where they live. And we also want people to be able to complete their degree in a very financially feasible way. So having that price as low as possible is something we're always looking at and always trying to always trying to do the best we can. So that was something we were really happy to have approved, was the geographically neutral pricing. So we can go ahead, please. So in terms of financing for funding your degree here, there's various ways to do that. Of course, there's financial aid. There's various scholarships available. OSHR is one of those. We can give you all that information when you reach out to us. Some of you might get employer assistance. Of course, there's payment plans, military veterans benefits. And my understanding, and I think there's a couple people on right now, is that NCI, the New College Institute, might have some funding available for some students. I don't know much about that, so I don't want to delve into that. but there might be some possible financial support there as well. If you can go to the next slide, I want to talk also about, yeah, the Dean's Scholarships, good. What we've done in the last couple of years, one thing I've pushed kind of hard for and we've been able to get is some money coming right from the School of Continuing and Professional Studies. So we have a Dean's Scholarship here that all students who apply for the program are sort of put in the running for this. Okay, so there's no separate application or anything. And it's not based on, you know, we at least when we select people who qualify for it, all we do is look at the materials submitted, and you can see the process here. We look at the application essay and the overall strength of the application, essay one that is, and the overall strength of the application in determining it. So we're glad this is something we can do. We understand it doesn't pay for the whole program, but it is something we can do to help. And this is another area where we're working hard right now to even find other ways to help support students through the program. We know now's a particularly difficult time for many people. There's layoffs, I know that. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So now more than ever, I feel like, you know, we're going to try hard to make this affordable and accessible. So we're a work in progress always, but we do have these scholarships available. At least that's something now that we do have. So I doubt I've answered all your questions. In fact, I've probably blown through this so quickly that I've created more confusion than anything else. I hope that's not the case. I hope I didn't succeed at that. But I'm sure some of you will have questions after this, and we encourage you, of course, to meet with, to reach out to me, of course, directly, and I'll give you that information at the end. Catherine Bozzoni's information is on the last slide as well. We're here, yeah, there we go. We're here to help you in any way we can, answer your questions, and see if this is a good fit for you. I mean, like I said, when we talked about our high retention rates and our high graduation rates, we want to make sure this is something that is, we want our students to be happy in the program, and we want them to succeed, we want them to complete. So we really work hard at talking with each student when we can to give them all the details, give them all the information they need so they can make an informed decision. And I hope, you know, by doing that, like I said, we do have the high retention rates, and there's a lot of things, little details that, you know, I can't share them all with you now, but like one thing that really makes me happy is when at final exercises, when students walk the lawn and I see them graduate, and they're standing there. We do it in Newcomb Hall, right at the middle of the grounds at UVA. In previous years, at least, things are different now, obviously. Oftentimes, quite a few of those students are a little bit sad, actually, that it's over. They're happy to get their degree, but many of them have had such a incredible experience, often transformative experience. They say things like, "It's changed my life." I can't believe this, you know, I can't believe what this has done for me, that they're a little sad to leave. So like, that's really what we strive for, this like transformative experience that is life-changing in a very positive way. And we don't get there with every student, but we work hard to do that. That's really what we try to do. We want this to be that much of a wonderful experience for each and every student. So anyway, that all starts with us talking with you, if possible, about the program, if you think it might be of interest to you, because we're happy to do that. So anyway, hopefully I didn't go on too long. I have a tendency to do that. All good academics do that, so I'm sorry. But now the most important part is to field any questions you might have, any comments, anything you want to share. I'd love to hear it.
Stephen, this is Catherine. I may just throw in a couple of thoughts before we entertain some other questions. When you were speaking, some things occurred to me. So one thing, as Stephen mentioned earlier, so I oversee pre-admission advising for the program, which means I work very closely with prospective students and applicants. He was talking about our high retention rate in the program in terms of students, but it occurred to me, you know, we actually have a lot of retention among those on the other side of the coin, you know, the instructors, staff. For instance, I've been working with the program almost since the beginning. So I started working with BIS back in 2000. It's sort of a labor of love. You know, I've been really committed to this for a long time. Stephen's been affiliated with the program, I think, since what, '06, so about 14
Right.
years now. We have some of our instructors who have been with us. There's some still teaching in the program who've been with us since the program began. So I think it's evidence that people who sort of come into this orbit, you know, one of the instructors I see on our call tonight has been with us for many years. I think when people come into this orbit, they find it's really rewarding work and they tend to stick with it. So I think that's valuable for prospective students to know too, that, you know, we're here, we don't disappear. You know, we're committed. A couple of other things I wanted to share. There's really a whole network or team of folks sort of working behind the scenes to really support you all the way through your journey, you know, even from the earliest stages as a prospective student. So we talked a lot about the support systems in the program sort of once you're there, but even on the front end, and so maybe just to demystify that a little bit for you and just let you know sort of the layers of support, and that while you're reaching out to us and working with us in different stages of your journey leading up to an application, perhaps you might work with a few different folks. So we have a wonderful team of enrollment advisors. Amelia, who's helping to sort of host tonight, is one of those. We have Omar, I think, who might be on the call tonight. And we also have Donna, Shan. So those three folks are sort of on our front line. So if you fill out a request for information, you'll probably have one of them reach out to you and try to answer your initial questions. Stephen alluded to pre-admission advising. So that's where I spend an awful lot of my time and effort. And to demystify that a little bit, just given the particular transfer requirements we have, what we really like to do is have a look at your unofficial transcripts before you even start an application, because we really want to assess or help you assess two things. One is that question of fit, you know, is this really a good fit program for you? And then also readiness in terms of, are you applying at the best time when you're most ready? And so that's why we encourage folks, and our enrollment advisors know how to kind of refer folks to the page on our website where you can find our pre-admission advising request form. So it's a short form. You just fill out a few fields. You can upload your unofficial transcripts, and then we'll review those and try to get back to you, you know, within a week or two. Sometimes it's faster. Just depends on the complexity of your transcripts and how many requests we have in the hopper at the time. So I have another colleague, Holly Scott, who helps support me a little bit there in the pre-admission realm. So once you're at that stage, you might be hearing back from me or from Holly. We also have a wonderful team of some outreach folks that are working in some of our Virginia Community College campuses. So we have Christy Mendoza, who's down in the Virginia Beach area. She's on our call tonight. She worked closely with students who are at Tidewater Community College. We have Richard Hodges, who's based down in the Hampton area and works a lot with students who are taking classes at Thomas Nelson. We have Holly Scott, I mentioned, who helps me some in the pre-admission work, is based in Charlottesville, where I am, and she works with students taking classes at Piedmont Virginia Community College. And then we also have Colin Alford, who is up in Northern Virginia, who's working with students from Northern Virginia Community College. So just to give you a sense that there really is this network of folks working behind the scenes to support you. And so you might hear from various ones of us at different points in the process, but please know that we're all sort of working collaboratively. We're constantly touching base with one another and trying to do everything we can to support you in the best way possible. So rather than it be confusing, you know, if you sometimes hear from one person, then you're hearing from maybe someone else, just know that there's really this network of folks that are in the trenches working to support you along the way. So thanks for letting me just share those few points that occurred to me while I was listening. Stephen gave a great overview. Hopefully we have some questions.
Maybe I've utterly confused everyone so much that they didn't even know what to ask. That's okay.
Maybe you did such an awesome job. Let's see. Trying to think of some other questions. Sometimes folks ask, like, do you really graduate from UVA? You know, you really do. Stephen mentioned our ceremony on grounds in a normal year. You can actually complete your degree in terms of having it conferred 3 times a year. So whenever you finish your degree requirements, you would actually earn your degree. So you could do that at the end of the fall, spring, or summer. But there's only one ceremony each year, and that's in May. But our graduates participate in that full UVA ceremony, which is quite spectacular. And it's very, very special event.
Yeah, Catherine. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I didn't mean to speak over you. Sorry. I was just going to add, again, I've been trying to hold back the whole time. Thank you for the added details. As Catherine said, like, you know, when you're admitted, you're a UVA student. And we have students in the program, not many of them, but some of them choose to get involved at UVA. And sometimes they can do that even, you know, from a distance. But there's the honor committee, there's judiciary, there's all kinds of there's a debating society, there's all kinds of, there's honors fraternities, there's all kinds of things that students can get involved with if they choose to at the University of Virginia. So as I said, when you're admitted, it's not just library, and I don't want to minimize the library services. It's not just that, it's really your full UVA students. And you know, you have a lot of the benefits that come with that, of course. Now, as students who are mostly working adults and with jobs, primarily that's who we have in the program, they can't always take advantage of all of those things, but some students can take advantage of some of them. So just wanted to add that in.
Hi, Stephen and Catherine. We have a question in the chat. For the cybersecurity program, do you accept CompTIA certifications as college credit?
I'll tackle that one. We don't give transfer academic credit for professional certifications. So while those certifications certainly enhance your, you know, the sort of that total package of your professional experience and what you bring to the table and what you bring to the classroom, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to award transfer credit for professional certifications. But they're certainly valuable, and they certainly help, you know, could be something you highlight in your application. You know, you might speak to that in one of your essays in terms of sort of the whole package of what it is you're trying to accomplish and other experiences you've had, training, because all of that is insightful in helping to inform us in your application. Let's see, do we have another chat question? I know a question that came up in one of our last sessions I'll share because I hear it frequently. We talked about the synchronous classes that we hold, and generally they meet one night a week. We said some lunchtime classes, but usually it's like one night a week from 7 to 9:45 in the fall and spring semesters. In the summer, the schedule's a little more compressed, usually about a 10-week session.
Yeah.
And classes might meet 6 to 9:45 one night a week. But we've had some students say, well, gee, what if like occasionally I have to miss a class? Like, you know, what is that, you know, how does that impact me? You know, or what if occasionally my internet, you know, might go out or have to travel for work? Faculty usually record their classes. So if you do miss, you can go back and at least watch, you know, a recording of the session. It's not quite the same as being in a real live session that might do a lot of dynamic works and group discussion, breakout and group work. But I think the faculty are very flexible, very understanding, especially if you're proactive. And I think the more you can do to communicate and anticipate, you can't always anticipate, you know, your internet going out, but if you can anticipate traveling for work or something like that, you know, faculty appreciate that when you're proactive. And then if something unforeseen happens, if you're proactive and follow up as soon as possible, faculty are usually pretty willing to work with you. I think if you anticipate, you know, not having regular internet, you know, then that's something we need to talk about. Or sometimes I get questions from folks that might be, you know, in a time zone very far away, and maybe the time zone factor creates an issue. So we'll have to get creative. You know, there's a lot of conversations we can have sort of offline, you know, on a one-to-one basis. I just wanted to address that question because we do get that a lot.
Hi, Steve Keyser. I'm actually with New College Institute in Martinsville. And first of all, you guys did a great job, Stephen, Catherine, and Amelia, all of you. You have a super job, really did. So don't take the sound of silence as that you did. You were very clear. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Just a couple of questions. One, what would you say if it is your probably most popular concentration that students go into?
Yeah. So probably if I took a poll on this this meeting, I bet you people would be surprised. You'd be surprised at the results. So what people would guess would be the most popular concentration. So liberal arts is the most popular, and there's several reasons for that. I will not go into too much detail on all of those, but I think the main reason is that the liberal arts concentration allows maximum flexibility. So students who come to the program often, they might want to take, they have a lot of interest in, like, say, more religion and history courses, or they want to take, these types of courses. And without getting into the details of the concentrations, that concentration is really not prescribed at all. It allows students to basically fulfill their concentration through a certain group of electives. So it's very flexible. So, and it allows students, like many of the other concentrations, but regardless of what they want to do after the degree, it seems like that a lot of them feel like that puts them in a good position to do that. Okay. But we have a lot of business concentrators. That's probably the second biggest one.
And you mentioned that the maximum credits that you'll take is 60, I think is what you said, correct?
Yeah. UVA, to get a bachelor's degree at UVA, they require a minimum of 60 credits. So students, the most they can bring in is 60. And okay. Another way to put it is that they have to complete at least 60 at UVA. That's correct.
Okay.
It's a good question.
What would be the minimum? Talk to me about, like, a student entering your program. Is there, and you may have said this, but is there a minimum amount of credits that they have to have? Like, I know some programs require an associate degree. Is there a minimum number of credits that they would have to come into your program?
Yeah, so good question. First of all, we do have some students who come in with associate's degrees. Some don't, some do. Some have never gone to a community college, have gone to like a couple of 4-year schools, but didn't finish their degree. So we see all kinds of profiles, first of all. But the minimum is 45 credits. Okay. So there's 30, I guess you'd say, Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, 30 of the gen ed, and then the 6, the English or the writing course. So let's call it 36 core, including English comp. And then and then they would need, say, 9 electives beyond that minimum. And then they'd be eligible. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to confuse language that Amelia and Catherine and the others use, but I want to make sure.
Yeah. And I'll just add that we generally follow the transfer policies of the College of Arts and Sciences. I mean, we have a separate admission process, so our students are applying directly through our school and our online program. They're not applying through undergrad UVA admission and the Common App, but we still sort of follow that general transfer policies and spirit of the College of Arts and Sciences. I try to explain it to a lot of prospective applicants. You're building an academic foundation that is not categorically different from what traditional undergrads at UVA would be doing in their first 2 years, or traditional transfer students that are transferring into the College of Arts and Sciences. So I think that adds a little bit to that sense of validity that, you can still hold your head up high and say, yeah, I earned a real UVA, undergrad degree. It's a real UVA degree. It's structured a little differently, and it's, the logistics are a little bit different to create greater access, but it's not fundamentally different in terms of those, the core academic roots, being rooted in that liberal arts tradition.
Right.
So that's partly sort of what guides us as we look at transcripts to discern what we're transferring and what we're not.
Yeah, and one other thing, if I may, about the application process. You're talking about transfer credits, but I know I touched on this earlier, but you may have noticed that, the minimum GPA from the previous institution is 2.0, which is very, very low. The reason for that is it's the nature of the program. You know, we have people who come in the program who maybe haven't been in school for a few years. Some have been 10, 20, 30, yes, even 40 years. And what we care about, like I know I keep saying this, I sound like a broken record, but what we care about is, will this student likely succeed? Can we help them get to this degree? That's really the only question we need to answer in the application. So we want it to be as accessible, as open as possible, so that we could review each person individually and make sure that, you know, first of all, like Catherine said, it's a good fit for them. And second of all, that we think we can help them succeed and that their chances are very good. So I just want to be clear about that. That's a big difference between the rest of UVA, which is highly selective. You know, a lot of people hear UVA and they say, oh, no way, it's not for me. This is absolutely for people who've had their college path interrupted, or if they've gone to a few different schools, or they're ready to finish now. This is designed for them not only to survive it and get through, but to have a really good experience and to allow us to consider each and every person individually so that we can make a good, responsible decision for them. So sorry, I just wanted to explain that. I think it's important.
Yeah. And I think we look at their most recent coursework a little more closely in terms of grades and trends, and that speaks a lot more about someone's potential for success right now than maybe, you know, grades from 10 years ago. And it's helpful when they can put that in context. I mean, I was communicating with a prospective student today, and you know, he's been doing quite well the last couple of years. You know, he's been in one of our community colleges the last 2.5 years. He's got about a 3.8. He's doing really well, but he's really sheepish about sharing, you know, one of his transcripts from 10 years ago. And he's like, gosh, I'm so worried about if you all see that transcript, you know, is that going to really blow it for me? And, you know, he was just really, and we were hopefully relying on some transfer credits from that prior school, you know. And so I tried to reassure him, and I'm like, you know, just sharing that, you know, trust me, we've seen it all. And, you know, it's, we understand, you know, we're going to look at that collective picture of who an applicant is. And I really try to encourage people, you know, don't be embarrassed, don't be shy, don't be hesitant to share, you know, your full background with us. You know, one, we require it for the application, but even during the pre-admission advising stage, that's where it's really helpful for us, because the more we know, the better job we can do of advising. And another thing I'll add too about that you might get, questions you might have as administrators or people who work with potential students. It's not an all or nothing. I think, you know, for traditional college admissions, you know, people think, well, I'm just going to, you know, send out my 10 applications and cross my fingers, hope for the best, you know, and I'll get in some, I won't get in others. With BIS and our focus on pre-admission advising, frequently it's not a question of if, but it's a question of when. And that's why we try to encourage folks to learn as much as they can about the program before they apply, to ask questions of our enrollment advisors, you know, any of us, to answer questions, because what we'll do, you know, we'll look at those transcripts. So let's say someone, you know, shares, they've been to 3 different schools. I look at their transcripts and I plot everything into a worksheet and give them feedback. And maybe we'll say, okay, it looks like you have, you know, 36 transferable credits right now. So at a minimum, you know, we know you need at least, you know, 9 more credits, but within that, we know that you're missing 3 credits of humanities and 3 credits in the natural sciences. And we can give them advice on courses that, you know, might fulfill that. We encourage them to keep checking back in. So I frequently have folks that might continue to take classes, frequently in the community college system, but it could be for any, you know, regionally accredited school. And so they might check in with me for the next, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 semesters as they're continuing to take classes in preparation to apply. So that's a service. You know, we provide this pre-admission service for no fee, no commitment, but we just care that much about student success, and we really want people applying for whom this is the best possible fit and when they're most ready to have a strong application. And so we really don't want somebody applying prematurely from a transfer credit point of view. So that's another reason why we want to take a look at things, you know, in a preliminary way before they submit that application. So we actually strive to have a very high acceptance rate. And that may sound a little weird or counterintuitive. That's a question I get sometimes, like, well, what's your acceptance rate? Are you highly selective? I know how hard UVA is. That's true. And we have high standards, but because of this approach we take with pre-admission advising, we get excited if we have close to 100% acceptance
Yep.
rate. That means we've been doing a good job of communicating what the program's all about. We've been doing a good job of helping people prepare and apply at the best possible time. So we do have close to, usually our acceptance rates, usually I'd say, 90% or higher. And most students who are offered admission enroll, because I think they're very intentional about this. So I think there's a lot of intentionality throughout, how the program was put together in terms of how we work with students, and we want students to make an intentional choice as well when they apply, when they accept the offer.
No, and that's true. We've had individual semesters where our admission cycles, where we have been able to accept every person. But again, that's because we've had those conversations, and the ones for whom it wasn't a good fit, for example, we probably said, don't apply, don't pay the $70, don't do the application, because if you want to go to medical school, we're not the right program. I'm making that up as an example. Please don't apply. Go where it'll be a better fit for you, because we don't want them to waste their time and money and come into a program where it's not going to meet their needs, and they're going to waste their money, their time. We don't want that. It's not what we're about. So
We have 2 questions in the chat. One is it possible to earn a major and a minor simultaneously? I'll let you do that one first.
good question. So the way we do it in BIS is that we have what we call concentrations. And some of those look a little bit more, depending on what institution, like what you look at with institutions with majors, some of those look a lot like majors at other universities. And that terminology isn't always consistent. Even at UVA, there's certain schools where people get a concentration or a path or an area. So it's a complicated terrain to navigate right now. But we call them all concentrations. Like I said, they range from 18 credits or 6 3-credits courses up to 8 courses with 8 3-credit courses. But the other thing I would add is that capstone 1 and 2, that final culminating project, is connected to your concentration. So it's really like 2 more courses. Now you get to sort of tailor that and pick a topic that works for you, and it's specialized and so forth, but it relates to the concentration. So really it's like 2 more classes. So they look a lot like majors, but we call them concentrations, long story short. Now, what we do when we advise students is that we have them pick a concentration when they come through. There are students who come through and either want to do quite a bit of coursework in another area or get maybe another concentration. We're not necessarily opposed to that, but sometimes the schedule and the layout doesn't allow for students to do that, especially in the time allotted or the time that they want their goals for completing their degree, if that makes sense. Okay, so it might be, for example, there's only so many days of the week to run classes. It might be that, psychology concentration classes run some of the same nights as the IT concentration. And so if you want to finish rather quickly, you're not going to be able to do both of them at the same time. Okay, but generally what happens is students complete one concentration and they do other courses in another areas, their electives, if they're really interested in doing something else in addition to that. That's sort of a long answer, sort of general answer, I should say. If a particular potential applicant is curious about 2 concentrations, they can talk to Catherine and talk to me, and I can be more specific about that. I'm not sure we want to get that granular right here. We try to be as flexible as we can given the offerings, and we're very realistic about, you want to graduate in this amount of time. That means this many courses per semester. Here's the course rotation. Here's when they're offered. What's really feasible. We'll work through all of that with any of you. We can do that. So hope that answers your question a little bit.
And then the second one, it looks like it was answered, but it is, where can we check the transfer requirements? And Christy went ahead and put in the link to the form for the pre-admission advising form.
Great, and I think Richard also gave a link for the admission requirements on the BIS website. So even if you just Google, UVA BIS program, hopefully you'll find our homepage for the BIS program. And if you get into the program's website, over on the right-hand menu, in a dark blue area, there are a whole bunch of helpful links. There's one about curriculum, there's one about admission requirements, there's a link on Capstone Project that tells you even more about it. There's the link for pre-admission advising. So there's quite a bit on that website too. So if you just Google UVA BIS program, you'll find a lot there. And like you said, we're always happy to entertain additional questions after the session. So you can follow up with one of our EAs. You can fill out one of our requests for info. There's a chat feature on our website, or you can email one of us directly.
And then one more question in the chat so far is, could I finish with liberal arts and then apply to the linguistics school program?
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, so say someone gets the BIS degree with a concentration in liberal arts, they want to go on to graduate school, maybe in linguistics. Is that the question? Okay, absolutely yes. We have had students go to so many different kinds of graduate schools that you wouldn't want me to list them here anyway, even if I could remember all of them. But we've had a lot of students go into various fields of creative writing, English, history, law school, MBAs, you name it. It's really ideal for that because, again, there's such that strong liberal arts skill building foundation. A lot of those graduate schools, including law school, MBA, they love to see strong writing skills, good critical thinking, all that. So the program's well suited for that, actually, those kinds of graduate programs. And even if someone changes their mind, sometimes that happens as they're going as an undergraduate. They might think they want to go for linguistics, but it takes a little turn. It's more philosophy or English or something. All of that is fine, and you'd be well situated for all of those.
Mm-hmm. I'll mention briefly too that 2 of our concentrations do have some specific prerequisite courses. So the psychology concentration does require having intro to psych when you come in at admission, and the business concentration has 4 prerequisites. So they include micro and macroeconomics, statistics, and financial accounting. We do ask applicants to select an intended concentration at the time that they are applying to the program. But sometimes we have students who come in and maybe decide, in their first or second semester, they might want to switch concentrations. So that's something that's certainly possible. So I always urge people, don't stress too much over the concentration. The harder one would be switching to business or psychology if you haven't had the prereqs, particularly business, because there are those 4 prereqs. But I think sometimes that takes the pressure off people. They're sometimes scared, like, oh, what if I pick the wrong concentration, on my application? It's, keep your eye on the bigger picture. I would say, the experience is more similar than different for students. So I wouldn't over obsess about the concentration.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not too hard to change early on if you decide you want to change your focus.
Yeah, I agree. And just to follow up on what Catherine said, regardless of what concentration you're in, there's an opportunity to take classes from other concentrations. Like psychology, for example, a lot of students take those courses as electives. We run at least 1 each semester, but there's also those who are concentrating in it because people are just interested in it. So that's what I meant before when I was talking about liberal arts. It kind of gives people maximum flexibility because there's so many classes offered in so many different areas. It allows them to kind of have that flexibility. But yeah, you're not really as tied in as you'd think with one concentration. There's a lot of options there for students. Mm-hmm. Thank you. It looks like we're not getting a whole lot more questions. If it's okay, I'd just like to thank everyone who attended. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I hope you and your loved ones are healthy. Again, very unusual times we're going through, so I wish everyone the best. And I encourage you to reach out to us, even if you're just considering this. It's never too early. So if we could be of further help, just let us know.
Yep, sounds good. I think maybe we covered it. Sounds like crickets, so maybe that's Maybe we've exhausted the questions for this evening.
Maybe we've just exhausted them.
Or just exhausted people in general, but you know.
Hey, Steve.
Hey,
This is
thanks,
Chris.
Amelia, for hosting.
Hello. Hey, this is Chris
Hello.
McDonald from New College.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, hey, I really enjoyed the presentation and everything. And I just wanted to just let you know that New College is here to help as well. Any students that are in Martinsville, Henry County, surrounding counties, that I'm here to help along with the application process. If they need help with the FAFSA or just filling out just different forms and everything, that I'm here to help as well. Even if that means contacting you guys or just getting them in touch with the right people.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Nice to meet you, even if virtually.
Yes, very nice to connect with you, Christopher.
Yeah, thanks for joining too. I appreciate it. And Steve, you too, thank you for joining. You're muted, Steve.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate you guys doing this. Okay. You did a great job. So thank you so much. Anything we can do for you, we're happy to send folks your way. Okay.
Well, thank you. And back at you, let us know if there's anything else we can do as well, to support the effort. Anything we can do as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, Amelia. Thanks so much for running the show here. We appreciate it.
Yes,
and
thank
Catherine,
you.
Thank you for joining. Christy, I don't know if you're still on. Thank you. But until next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, guys.